Hello everybody, my name's Ruben, and if I could get your attention for just a second, we're going to go over some information about the trip that we're going to be on today, and some important safety information for on the river today. But before we get into that stuff, has everybody signed one of these waivers? They're really important. We need one of these done before we get on the trip. It just outlines some of the risks and hazards, and limits your ability to sue us. So please give it a good read before signing it. Make sure you understand everything on it. These are needed to be done before you get on the bus. Awesome. With that out of the way, the trip we're going to be doing today is the main channel on the Ottawa River. It's about a 4-hour trip with about half hour to 45 minutes break for lunch at the bottom of the Lauren Rapids. As far as lunch goes, we've got a pretty simple spread of burgers and hot dogs. If you have any special dietary restrictions, please make sure to let us know beforehand. That way we can accommodate you by bringing that food along. If you don't let us know beforehand, we won't bring that food along, and then we won't have anything for you. On the river today, since it's such a beautiful day, we're probably going to spend lots of time surfing as well. Paddling around, just having a good old time getting wet. So let's go over some safety stuff for just on the rapids. First of all, we've got some gear that we're going to give you to make it more safe on the river. We've got our handy dandy helmets, simple clip design. Make sure when you put your helmet on that it's nice and tight underneath your chin. If the chin strap is too loose, it's not actually going to hold it on your head, and then it doesn't do you much good. As well as the helmet, we have these handy dandy life jackets, brand spanking new. So just make sure you do up all the buckles on the life jackets. And with the life jacket, you're going to want to make sure it's nice and tight. That way it doesn't come up over your head. Otherwise, when we go to grab and pull you in by those shoulder straps, what's going to end up happening is we're going to pull in the life jacket, but not you. So make sure it's nice and tight. Easy way to check this is stick your thumbs underneath the shoulder straps and try and lift up. If you can't lift up, it means it's secure. With all this gear, if you notice anything wrong with it, please bring it to your guide's attention before we get on the river. That way we can get you a new piece of gear. Once we're on the river, there's not really too much that we can do. So again, please bring it to your guide's attention if you think that there's anything wrong with this stuff before we get on the river. On the river itself, there's quite a good chance that we'll go for a swim. It happens all the time. Not a big deal. First of all, if you fall in the water, stay calm. It's a nice hot sunny day out, so the water is going to be nice and refreshing. If you end up outside of the raft, if you're just right beside the raft, we're going to get you to grab on and pull yourself back in, or get somebody to pull you back in. But if you find yourself a little bit farther away from the boat, we're going to get you to go into what we call the defensive swim position. This is just to help keep you safer, and so it's more comfortable while you're in the water. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay on your back, you're going to kick your feet up pointing downstream. That way you can deflect any rocks or trees, or push your body away with your feet rather than with your head. And have your arms out to your side, and this is what you're going to use to direct yourself and move yourself around the river and get where you need to go. At that point, the guide will probably be shouting commands to you, or he'll have told you where to go. If you're still fairly close to the boat, you can swim to the boat. Or if you're a little bit farther away, every one of the guides has this super fancy piece of equipment. It's called a throw bag. So it's basically a bag stuffed with rope. It's about 65 feet of rope in here, so we can get you quite far away. So what might end up happening is you're laying in the river, you've got in your defensive swim position, you're sitting there, you'll see your guide standing up in the back of the boat, he's yelling, rope, 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 and you see him throw this bag at you. Please, when you see this coming at you, don't grab onto the bag. The bag still has quite a bit of rope on it. If you grab onto that, you're going to be swimming for a long time. Makes us get really tired, and sometimes we might be just let you go, let you float down the river. So what you're going to do once you got the rope, please, you're going to grab it with two hands. You're going to throw it over your shoulder and lay on your back, and just look up at the sky as you pull you in. It's really important that you don't wrap it around your hand, your neck. Not very comfortable. Once we start pulling on it, there's actually quite a lot of tension on this rope, so we don't want to do that. It would make it very uncomfortable. If you end up holding onto like this, as you get pulled into the boat, it's very uncomfortable as well, because you're just going to get that giant face full of water. Not a very pleasant time. On the river today, also, if you come up to one of the rapids and you don't feel secure about it, you're not feeling confident, you don't want to do it, that's okay. All our rapids today are challenge by choice, which means that if you don't want to do the rapid, let your raft guide know. they'll pull over to the side. There's a path around all our rapids, and they'll just get you to walk down the path, and then they'll meet you at the bottom. Rafting today, it's going to be a lot of work. It's a activity that requires your participation. The better you paddle, the more fun you're going to have, the bigger waves you're going to hit. Just better time in general if you paddle really well. Just listen to your guide and you'll have a great time. Our most important rule on the river today is never stand up. So this is really important. I want you to remember this above everything else I just told you. What can happen if you stand up? So if you stand up in the river, the water's moving really fast. It's got a lot of power behind it. You swim to the side, you're in the shallows, but you're still in that current. What can happen is you go to stand up, your foot gets caught, you trip and fall, and now that water is running over top of you. There's a lot of force behind that water, and what will happen is it can push you down, makes it really hard to breathe, makes it hard for us to get to you and to get you out of there. So in all, it's not a very fun position to be in. So please don't stand up at any point on the river today. Other than that, the other key point we want is if anybody has any medical conditions. So if you have asthma, if you're allergic to bees, something like that, you have an EpiPen, a puffer you need to bring with you, let your guide know beforehand. Each guide has a dry bag on the boat that can store that gear for you just in case you need it. And that way they have it on hand and they know if something's happening, what's going on. If you've also had surgery or you've had a bad injury on a shoulder, knee, or hip or something like that, let your guide know as well, because then they can seat you in the boat accordingly. That way you don't irritate that injury and you'll have a better time on the river. Other key things to cover, there's no drugs or alcohol allowed before the trip or on the trip. Obviously, this is just for your own safety, and it does make it more enjoyable if you can actually remember the experience. That's it, guys. So we're going to be getting on the bus in a moment. Let's go and have some fun.